the show going. An awkward start to the show today. All right. There we go. Linux Unplugged 243. Hello, chat room. Good to see you. irc.geekshed.net if you want to get in on that. Pound Jupiter Broadcasting. I'm officially opening up the title suggestions, too. Title suggestions are open. Linux Unplugged is starting. Yeah, there's an active shooter situation. Yeah, we know. Yeah, as we record, as we go in there's an active shooter situation in at the YouTube headquarters, actually. It's awkward. It's awkward. Maybe that's what everybody's doing up in the lobby.
Yeah, I suppose so, huh?
All right. Well, mumble room or no? I guess we go. It's gonna have everybody's attention because that's such a well-known, established place. The freaking YouTube headquarters,
I hang out there all the time,
It's kind of a big deal.
like every day.
Do you now?
Thankfully, not today. I mean, we're doing the show.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be able to do the show. I tell you what, I got a little of that in me, just a little bit. I'll try to get it out so that it's not in the show.
Yeah, just kind of push it out.
I had a gut ache today. A little TMI there, but I had a gut ache, so I'm behind on my caffeine intake. So I got the yawns.
How do we help you?
How do we
Make you some sort of like caffeine slurry?
No, I think at this point I'd have to mainline it. I think.
Yeah, you're right. You would have to mainline it.
Yeah.
That's the only way.
If anybody knows anything about cubes, why don't you stop on by the mumble room and talk to us about it? I would like to have somebody tell me about it, but I don't really know much about Cubes 4, but I still think it's worth the mention. Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah.
Hey, I see Joe and a Hey Citizen. Hi, guys.
Hey, citizen.
Hey, Citizen. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I need to finish cleaning my flat, and then I will be
don't we
in the
all?
mumble room.
Yeah, I should do the same. All right, cool. Just don't leave your mic open while you're doing it.
Unless you're singing
No,
a song
push
while
talk
you
up.
work.
Master got me working.
There we go.
Mississippi. Yeah, I'll leave it on push talk. I'll be back in a sec.
All right,
well,
cool.
about 5-10 minutes.
All right. Oh, I tell you what. What a week. What a week. So my kids are on spring break this week, so I was over there last night while I was finishing publishing Coda Radio. And then came to the studio and started working on this show and TechSnap. Fell asleep. So Hidea came down here with Levi
Aww.
and showed up. And then, we just got done doing TechSnap. I think I'm just a little worn out. I'm a little worn out. But I am looking forward to taking the kids out to Seaside, Oregon for the weekend. So that'll be nice. We're going to load up Lady Jupes, head down. I'm going to do a Linux Action News from Seaside.
That sounds baller.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Seaside's a nice place.
Yeah, it's not bad. And they got a dog-friendly brewery. So
Done.
yeah.
Well, if you need a second terrier, Charlie's all yours.
Charlie probably love it in the RV. It's good size for terriers. Hey, Citizen.
So that's like, what, a 5-hour drive for you?
It should be about 2.5, 3.
Oh, that's not too
Well, actually, no, I take that back. 'Cause we'll definitely do at least 2 stops. So, yeah, probably about a 5-hour drive. Yeah, you're probably right. You are probably right. Oh, man. Well, I hope everything's okay at YouTube. I don't think we know the details yet, but I suppose we will.
Without going into too many details on a live stream, I should be good for Sunday as normal, Chris.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, that's easy. Yeah, and so I was saying they have a brewery there, and the nice thing about this brewery is in Seaside is A, they let dogs there outside, and B, they have a fireplace outside. It's a big old,
Oh, I love that.
big bench fireplace, like one of those long ones, so you can usually find a spot by the fireplace. And it's walkable from where we have the campsite to the beach, and it's it's not like not all of the Washington beaches. Some of them are sandy, but the majority of the Washington beaches are traditional Pacific Northwest beaches where they got like rocks and pebbles everywhere.
Yes.
And the seaside shore, all that area in Oregon, that shore in Oregon, has like that traditional golden, fluffy sand when it's not all wet. All right. Well, I think we'll start. Even though we got people showing up. Hey, Charlie, you ready to join us? Are you ready over there, Mr. Payne?
I am ready.
Payne in the West. All right, chat room, please bang suggestals as we go along. We will need them. Let's see. We'll do a little look. See if I should be able to do this. Yep. Oh, nope. That. Yep, that worked. And then let's do a quick sound check. It's a little low. Charlie's on my cord.
All of that's well and good. Here's the downside.
I got it.
And this is why I asked Si, you know about computers? And he does. Linux has never really been for real average people.
Hey, man, that hurts.
It's really designed by and used by computer enthusiasts. And so you'll use Linux for a while, and then you'll run up against something that's just weird.
No, that's you.
And unlike Windows, there's so few people that use it as a desktop operating system. It's sometimes hard to figure out how to get around these roadblocks. Things don't work right. I'll give you an example. I was running a version of Ubuntu.
You get it. All right, stop it.
And I decided to use the open source version of Google's Chrome.
Stop it.
I like the idea that there's Leo that you can't turn off and just like haunts you.
Uninterruptible, unmanageable Leo.
Yeah.
Maximum Leo.
Like somehow the soundboard crashes and the live stream crashes and you can't stop any of it.
Yeah. So, oh gosh. How have we not thought of this before? We should take bets at the beginning of the show if Gnome's going to crash during the show or not.
Oh, what's the prize?
Oh, I mean, really, it's just
a really
cred.
Good Chris rant about the crash.
Well, no, I feel like, probably that just everybody wins with that one. But I know, I'm thinking like, I don't know, like somebody eventually could keep tally, right? And somebody could come away with like 5 wins because, probably everybody's going to bet it crashes. But there is a probable chance that it will not crash. Like probabilities, we have had many episodes where it does not crash.
Most episodes it doesn't crash.
Right. So, but I feel like everybody's going to vote that it will crash. So those of you who vote not crash, and then if it doesn't crash, like you should get, like you bet against the odds, so you should get more of a reward. So I think you have to talk amongst yourself and figure this out. Obviously, everybody should be trading in Bitcoin, and just cut me in on, just give me like 5% off the top, okay? Easy. Everybody on board? And if you give me 10%, I promise not to throw and intentionally crash it or not.
What?
Yeah, as long as I get 10%. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Unplugged program, and we're going to kick it off right here. And do we have a pre-show topic?
Not really.
I thought there was something that you and I were consternating about just a minute ago. I was almost positive we had something. I was almost positive, Wes. There was almost something. When remember after we ate barbecue and then our brains fell asleep? We had barbecue and then our brains fell asleep. And we probably don't want to start the show out with the YouTube shooter. Oh man, he's going to be known as the YouTube shooter.
You've just named him.
Mm-hmm. That's totally what he'll be called, as the YouTube shooter. Let's see.
Didn't we talk about that on User Error?
What's that?
Like them getting names and being famous.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, I feel like I probably don't want to start the show out with that, though. I need something else. I need something fun to start the show out with. This is, we blew it on this one. This is our bad.
The first 3D printed steel bridge.
Meh. I'm taking suggestions now, too, from the chat room, if anybody wants to go over there. Chat room was slow today, huh?
Yeah, what's happening?
I don't know.
Maybe they're tired.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe
they also have barbecue? Probably.
Or everybody's following this YouTube shooter thing, I think. That could be what it is, right? Everybody's...
it's on a down note now.
Oh, what's the note? What's the latest?
Oh, I haven't... No, it just sounds like a down topic. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. It is. Nobody's got nothing? All right, fine. Fine. Gonna make me do it. I'll go find something. Let's see. What we need is a Richard Stallman YouTube video. A quick Richard
Ooh,
Stallman.
That would actually be perfect.
Yeah, we need a quick Richard Stallman YouTube video. 33 seconds. That's pretty good. Is that actually Richard, though?
You see, any simple model of human nature is going to be wrong. Human nature is complex. Many emotions are possible. Many motivations are possible.
That's not bad. I don't love it because it sounds like total butt on the encoding.
Yeah, it does.
So I would like to find something else. Probably shouldn't play 10 years of Richard Stallman pedophile quotes. I wonder if are they actual quotes by Richard Stallman or somebody?
Prostitution, adultery,
Yeah, that doesn't do it for me. Richard Stallman, 6 minutes. Richard Stallman slams Apple fanboys. Richard Stallman slams Ubuntu. Richard Stallman loses it. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
Richard Stallman explains everything. Damn.
There's a lot in that one, for sure.
Proof Richard Stallman is a cuck. Okay. All right. Okay.
And the other thing is that a beginner shouldn't be installing operating systems. Go to a user group and find someone who loves installing the system to help people. I've never installed GNU/Linux. I never saw a point in learning how. I've never installed GNU/Linux.
I've never installed GNU/Linux. I never saw a point in learning how.
Okay.
YouTube is
The
just...
thing is, though, that Stallman couldn't possibly be a cuck because you need a wife and a friend to do that.
I actually thought it was going to be like a political statement.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I thought it was about.
The human mind. So
That's so far as our winner. But if anybody has a better one, please drop it in the chat room. Something short, 40, 30 seconds at most. That's like a good Stallman soundbite. We could start with the free software song.
Oh, sure. Sing along, maybe? Mumble sing along.
Another Richard Stallman pedophile video. Huh. It's really a thing on there.
Apparently.
Free software examples, Richard Stallman. Let's see here. Richard Stallman explains how we can be free. It's 12 minutes. All right. Well, we're eliminating it down to two things. There's this one.
Un ritmo de 7 compases. Entonces, si les parece un poco confuso,
Yeah, he's multilingual.
no es un error. Por ejemplo, es este ritmo.
Okay.
But no big deal.
What's he doing? He's just futzing with himself.
please raise your hands if you cannot hear me. You see, if I get laughter from all around the room, then I know the system is working.
I'm pleased to welcome Richard Stallman as our speaker. Richard, or RMS, is a new project, something with the GNU, and I'm sure that will...
Out to be what? Tell us now, so Richard, please.
Rob is particular.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna have to play the other quote because all those suck. There's nobody there. There's got to be a hot market for somebody cutting up RMS quotes and putting them up on YouTube in 40-second chunks. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe the problem is that you're looking on YouTube, which a platform he doesn't support. So out of respect for his
simple
beliefs,
model of human nature is going to be wrong. Human nature is complex.
I'm gonna save that here in a second. We'll play that. My plasma desktop's all broken. Where's producer Michael? I want to blame him. I'm having massive plasma desktop issues today. Massive. Actually, they're not massive, but they are annoying. So it'd be nice to complain.
Sound like a broken record.
Oh my God! Are you seriously gonna say XFCE? You bastard! You bastard!
Well,
I know. You might be right. God damn it! It's just I feel like at that point, I've just lost. It's like I've just given in. You know.
Come to the XFCE side.
It just feels like such a. I don't know the way.
Weren't we just in Fluxbox last week?
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. For some reason, it feels like an ultimate admission of Linux failure or something. If I have to do that, maybe if I can't get any, it's just.
How about we just straight up just run OBS from X, no other system?
I just didn't really like it the last time I used it. Maybe I would like it this time, so maybe it'd be different. It's possible. Maybe I should give it a go.
Or we could all do Wimpy a favor and use Mate.
Yeah, I have issues with. I have these same kind of weird stability issues. It's like this. One of the reasons why I have to do it here on this studio machine, even though it's kind of like the most risky machine to do it on. The thing is like it's like where it always breaks is where right here. And if I don't run it for weeks, right here, it's always fine. It's just kind of a bummer. I just was really into plasma, and I just want it to be fine. And I'm sure it will be. And every time I bring up anything like this, what I get is, oh, well, it's because of the NVIDIA proprietary driver. Which, okay, maybe that's true. I don't know.
But you want stability, right? You want something that's going to be rock solid and isn't going to change. Well, XFCE hasn't changed for about 10 years, and that's why I use it.
Well,
because it's rock solid and never changes.
I do kind of want something modern getting new features, though, that has like a good roadmap and a long-term trajectory and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think they've ported the panel to GTK 3.
Wow. Yeah, I'm using XFCE right now, but only because I joined the Ubuntu Studio development team.
How do you like it so far?
XFCE, I kind of want to change it out for Mate, and I've actually proposed that to the rest of the development team, and it's actually being received with open arms.
Yeah, it does seem like there's more of a future there.
Oh, there's definitely more of a future there, but like what you need is something that works right now.
That is true. Yeah, that is my
hackers.
It's really
true hackers.
It's been good. It's been good, but all right. Well, we're going to start out with an RMS quote, and if I don't like it, I won't use it in post. But I want to start with it because we're going to end with RMS, so it kind of seems like maybe we'll start with RMS. I figured we'd brand associate as positive Richard Stallman since Late Night Linux is now officially the Anti-Free Software Foundation Anti-RMS podcast.
I think that's appropriate. Yeah.
Anti-copyleft, anti-GNU.
Yeah. Although Wes and I were listening to Late Night Linux, we didn't get all the way through it yet, though. But we were listening after we got done with TechSnap today.
Pairs well with barbecue.
It does. We ate it with barbecue, and we listened to Late Night Linux.
Yeah, big changes happening.
Yeah, for sure. Although I think long term it's going to be good stuff, and
exciting.
Yeah, it should be. It's always kind of nice.
Hopefully.
Let's see. So there's
He's so pretty.
He's got quite the beard. All right, chat room, please bang suggest Aru and ND. You could always check out. Those are all good suggestions. Also, IRC Cloud. I've been plugging a lot recently for no particularly good reason. Okay, Richard Stallman, ins the threes, ins the twos, ins the threes, the twos, the ones.
You see, any simple model of human nature is going to be wrong. Human nature is complex. Many emotions are possible. Many motivations are possible in the human mind. So a simplistic motivation, a simplistic model of human nature, humans are motivated by profit, is absurd. I'm not denying that motivation exists, but they are denying all the others.
This is Linux Unplugged, episode 243. Oh, welcome to Linux Unplugged, your weekly Linux talk show that was just listening to some wise words, some wise words of RMS, something like that, mixing its words up apparently before the show starts. My name somehow is still Chris.
My name is Wes, at least I think.
Hello, Wes. I hope so.
I hope so, too.
You'll keep us grounded today while we rush through what is undoubtedly a huge show. Huge show. We've got some big news up front, big changes coming in a couple of different fronts. Some nice new features arriving as well, so we'll talk about all of that across a couple of different distributions and software projects. And then a new version of Cube's OS is out. We'll tell you a little bit about that. Wes found a super cool geeky tool that really gives you a great visualization of what the heck is going on all across your system, like the inter-process communication. So, after that, we're just going to pick up, walk away, and we'll be done. We'll be done. We got nothing else. We just figured that was enough.
That's so much.
Wait, what? Oh, hold on. Last minute incoming memo. No, that's not it. There's more show after that. After that, we'll look at a new proposal by Richard Stallman, a radical proposal, as he titles it, to keep our personal data safe. And he makes a really good point. In his article, he goes hard, too. He says the surveillance imposed on society today far exceeds that of the Soviet Union. For freedom and democracy's sake, we have to eliminate, or we need to eliminate, most of it. And then he lays out a couple of semi-solid ideas. And this ran in the Guardian section, in the Guardian's opinion section today. And it was interesting to read RMS. He had a really, what's the way to put this? The most centrist position I've seen him take on a subject like this in a really long time. Like just a really solid take on and some actual practical ideas that we could implement today. Although I don't know if we'd ever really see that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I'm just a hot mess today, Wes. So let's see if that mumble room can't save me. Time appropriate greetings, virtual lug.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello. I don't know what any of that was, but I loved all of it. Hello, guys. How are you doing today? We have a good showing. Wimpy, it's good to see you back.
Hello.
Hello, sir. Good to have you as always. Guys, what do you say we start the show out today with a little Valve news? We haven't talked about Valve in a little while. Cue the Valve.
Oh, there it is. Yep. Ooh, sends shivers down my spine every time.
I don't think this move surprises anyone, but it appears that Steam machines are just silently disappearing from the Valve website. Yeah, Liam over at gamingonlinux.com has this. He says, in fact, the entire hardware page on Steam is now gone. And anyone that goes to the direct link, the store.steampower.com/hardware, is just redirected to a basic search page. And it looks like when he did some digging, it must have rolled through earlier this month. You know, when I was down at Dell, I kind of got a cold read on the future. They weren't sure. They thought maybe VR and 4K would push it over, but I don't think there's been a huge demand on Steam machines for VR. And that's sort of what they were banking on to bring them to the next level and be competitive with consoles. That was going to be their secret sauce. And it didn't materialize. You know, and even now, like Liam makes the point, there's now over 4,000 Linux games on Steam.
Yeah.
With more releasing every single day. Of course, a lot of them are junk, but that just how it always goes. Some of them are great too. I gotta be honest. I think I bought into the hype pretty big back in the day when these things were first announced, because if you remember, it was a hype sandwich. It had Windows Store momentum that was freaking out Valve and Epic and other game developers. And then you had the whole layer, the tasty layer of the Steam client getting developed and created for Linux. And then the finish at the bottom there was the nice savory fact that then they were going to ship purpose-built hardware to run Steam, and they were going to create their own Linux distribution. And I mean, how can I not get excited about that? That's some exciting shit. The reality is, though, that consoles have really not changed much since they launched the market. Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo have continued to lock that market up. Console gamers seem to be a different type of gamer than PC gamers to a large extent. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not a big gamer, but it seems to be that the markets aren't. Maybe there's not a big crossover there.
Right, and there hasn't been a huge amount of radical change either. You know, that would naturally lead to a new contender coming in.
Yeah, I know maybe this is just them redoing stuff, but I don't know. Anybody in the mumble room have any takes on Valve pulling down the Steam machines off of the website? Is this a sign that things are over?
Bit. Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the very successful Steam Link, because you can then just use your regular PC across the network, plug it into your TV, and boom, there's your console.
I can 100% see that. Yep. Yeah, the Steam Link and the Steam controller have been the successful byproducts of that experiment.
Very much so, yeah.
And
exactly, as a proud owner, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's got to be it.
And it makes sense. Then you invest once in a really nice graphics card and a really nice desktop PC, and then you can stream it to multiple televisions. And it actually works. You know, I've got one. I've only used it a little bit, but I was impressed. It actually works. And NVIDIA's got something similar that's built into the NVIDIA Shield. You can do the same thing to the NVIDIA Shield TV if you have a Windows box.
Right.
So there you go. I don't know. All right, how about a mystery? You guys want a little mystery? And Bacon points out in the chat room, Bacon points out that the Moonlight Project, which lets you just use a Raspberry Pi, because remember, it's an H.264 stream here. All right, how about this one? What do you guys make of this? What is going on? Apple, for unknown reasons, is looking to hire multiple Linux kernel developers in both Texas and in California.
Is that right?
Yeah, they specifically are looking for people with Linux kernel development experience and someone with 5+ years of embedded Linux kernel development experience in understanding of the Linux kernel internals, familiarity with ARM, and Linux kernel device driver development experience.
Odd.
In Cupertino and in Texas, in Tejas. I'm not sure. I don't know, where is there? It doesn't say what town in Tejas, but Austin. Yeah. What is that about?
So it doesn't necessarily seem like it seems device oriented or something on the embedded space, if not, not their server. Like if server stuff maybe would make more sense.
Yeah.
But this.
It's just weird when it's paired at that same time. Those rumors going around that they're switching CPUs. They're going to ARM. But if you're in the Austin area or the Cupertino area, you might want to get a gig because they, probably pay pretty decent, and could just be for building custom systems in their data centers. It could be.
Could be.
ARM embedded. Yeah. And so I did a little digging to see if this is the first time they've ever done this, and it is not. It is not. This has been going on. I found 2 other job postings this year where they were looking for potential employees with Linux development experience. And everything from Linux file systems was one of the requirements, familiarity with Linux file systems. And it could just be that they are looking to make their products better. And so they want to hire somebody that is working on a superior built system. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not
That's
trying
a
to
punch to the gut there. I'm not a big fan of their kernel, eh, Chris?
No, well, who knows? Who am I to say? But you got to wonder if it's not a good way to vet a better developer from a less better developer. Just take a risk on somebody that has some kernel experience. You probably a good chance they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and probably have some easy to vet open source contributions there.
Exactly. So anyways, isn't that weird? It's been going around. In 2 different locations too. So I mentioned some new features this week. Well, check this out. My hot little hands here. I have some notes about a new release of Snappy, which supports NVIDIA drivers, and it will be shipping in Ubuntu 18.04 LTS. Apparently, this is all part of Snap 2.32.2, which is available for download now and runs on all Snappy-enabled GNU/Linux distributions. Now, I could sit here and tell you about it, but I probably would be doing a disservice when we could just ask Mr. Wimpy kind of the details about this. But, Wimpy, if I'm grokking this story, it looks like snapped applications can now take advantage of the binary NVIDIA driver for full acceleration, and maybe even CUDA? I don't know how deep it goes, but what's the details?
Well, this isn't something new. This is just a change to accommodate the NVIDIA 390 drivers.
Oh, I see. So this has already been possible.
Oh yeah, this has been there for some time now.
News to me.
But yeah, okay. So it's been around for a while. So when you install games like what's the Mario Kart thing, Super Tux Kart, there's a snap of that. That's obviously using all of that stuff already. But the 390 drivers have a different layout and structure and different shared object names, and the confinement model needed to be updated to support those new drivers.
Anything in particular that I'd find interesting? So what did NVIDIA do with the 390 release that... Because I assume the trick is talking outside the sandbox. Is that what has to be sort of shored up? Is that capability?
Yeah, it's passing through to the drivers on the host operating system, and the location of the shared objects have changed in some cases, so they didn't hook up properly, but they do now.
And that'll be in 18.04 when it ships.
It's already in 18.04, and it's making its way to the other flavors, the other releases in due course.
Looks like there are some improvements to temporary files with AppArmor as well with Snap D, so that looks good. I gotta say, and this is me saying this, and I'm not saying it because Wimpy's here. Seeing now Popey too. Hi, Popey. Seeing a lot of good pickups of snaps. It feels like
momentum.
Mm-hmm. Flatpak's got some pickups this week too, but I really feel like snaps have maintained a pretty strong trajectory.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
While you're on that trip, I've got a great snap for you.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
CoinTop. Snap install CoinTop.
All right,
you will totally love this. This is completely up your alley. You will love this.
We'll do it live.
Snap install CoinTop and then just run CoinTop.
All right, I'm snap installing right now.
It's an HTOP style interface to cryptocurrency.
I knew you were going to say that. I love it. I already love it so much. That's great. And of course, you would be the person to know about this, Snab. I know this is an area that you. Oh, this is.
Look
I have my
at
finger on the
that.
pulse of this, of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
This
is Popey is your go-to guy for cryptocurrency.
As always.
And all of your VR inquiries should come to me.
Guys, this is so cool. All right, everybody, go snap install CoinTop, because the part that really sells it for me is the ticker graph along the top. When you can generate a graph like that on a command line application, that deserves an install.
You put in some love there.
So gives you the top 13, at least in how many I can fit. I suppose if I were to make my
just page down, left and right.
There you
pages
go.
Up and down.
There you
Just
go.
through all of them.
Oh yeah, there we go.
And the letters at the top of the columns will sort the columns and all that. It's brilliant.
Nano coin, huh? Interesting. Wow, there's more coins these days than I would know what to do with. That is a great app. That is, thanks. A little bonus app pick there from Mr. Popey. Appreciate that. I guess what I thought was a great development for Snaps is just business as usual and keeping things moving along. And which is also good. It's good not to have those kinds of things break. Well, while we're talking about really cool apps, Wes found LSOF to Graph Viz. Now, LSOF, as you know, lists all of the open files on your Linux rig. And that's cool, but what if you could graph it all? And it looks so neat. I did it here on my Plasma Neon box, and it's really cool. Like, I actually forgot that I had Postgres running, so you can see if you ran it on yours, you'd see all the different processes and which ones are communicating to which over like a loopback adapter. You can see that systemd literally has its hooks into like a bajillion things. It's really kind of intense. And I also realize how many applications on my machine have a back-end front-end arrangement, like Spotify and a bunch of others that have a back-end listening process. And it visualizes those links between those processes.
Yeah, it's a fascinating look that, I mean, you can obviously piece together through various other options, but especially maybe if you're interrogating a system you're not too familiar with or you're trying to do an audit, this is a helpful overview.
Yeah, it was, I guess, Postgres. I forgot I did that before a show one time. And you have to have Lua installed, and you have to have GraphViz installed. And if you're on 1604 and you install Lua 5.3, the package maintainer didn't set up a symbolic link, so you have to symbolically link user bin Lua 5.3 to user bin Lua. But once you do those things, it generates a nice, pretty graph for you.
It sure does.
And we'll have a link in the show notes if you want to see that. New show notes too. Got to mention this. I got to be better about this because I'm still getting tweets from people. They don't know. They don't know that we have LinuxUnplugged.com now.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's
Linux
so shiny.
Yeah, if you go to LinuxUnplugged.com/243, you get links to anything, any apps we talked about, anything like that. Just Linux Unplugged. I'm doing it right now. You can do it with me. LinuxUnplugged.com/243. Boom. Of course, as we do this show, it's not posted yet, but after it's posted, it'll be live. That's the new website. A new RSS feed there too. LinuxUnplugged.com/RSS if you want to plug that in your podcast catcher of choice. And if you've got one of those podcast catchers that supports chapter markers, check those out too. And while I'm talking about chapter markers, I'll give a plug to User Air this week. It's back, episode 47, with Noah, myself, and Joe's on there. Joe Resington joins us for, I thought, a particularly good episode of the User Air program. Also with chapter markers. Boom. Boom. Got the chapter markers everywhere. So if you got a podcast catcher that supports them, go take advantage of that. Let's take a moment and let's thank Ting for sponsoring the Unplugged program. Linux.ting.com. I could tell you about Ting, but it's been a while since we've heard from Kyra. So let's have Kyra do it. What do you say? You want to
do it?
All right, Kyra, tell me about Ting.
Ting keeps rates simple. We don't make you pick a plan. Instead, you just use your phone as you normally would. How much you use determines how much you pay each month. You can have as many devices as you want on one account. That's good, because when you use more, you pay less per minute, message, or megabyte of data. Your usage, plus $6 per active device on your account, plus taxes, is your monthly bill. Simple. That's what we mean when we say mobile. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's better than unlimited because you have to pay a lot of money for unlimited, but with Ting, you just pay for what you use. $6 a month, your minutes, your messages, and your megabytes. Nationwide coverage, CDMA and GSM. No contracts, no agreements, no early termination fees, none of that, plus great customer service. Those are all the extra things I like to mention that she couldn't fit into that jazzy tune. But check it out, linux.ting.com. It'll take $25 off a device, or if you just want to bring one that's compatible, because they do have the two networks, so check their BYOD page. then they'll give you $25 in service credit. Linux.ting.com. And a big thank you to Ting for sponsoring the Unplugged program. Linux.ting.com. So there's just one story that's gotten a lot of attention this week, and it's a total non-story. So we're gonna razz it here a little bit. We're gonna take a piss, I believe, as our friends from across the pond would say. Hey, hello, Dan. I'm glad you made it, because guess what? A Juno progress update is our next story. So I'm glad you could make it into the show today, Mr. Foray. Yeah, so let's talk about this. Let's talk about this hype story, though. The Linux kernel is cutting its code size by 500,000 lines of code by dropping support for old CPU architectures. And I know a lot of you did your ears perk up and go, does that mean 32-bit? Does that mean 32-bit? Does that mean PowerPC? What does that mean? No, it's nothing like that. It's like these crazy ones like MetTag, MN1030, Backflin. There's a Chris CPU architecture.
Oh, don't cut that one.
They're gonna. And the Unicord 32, it's gone. Also, Hexagon architectures are out, but their maintainers are trying to step up their contributions, so they may keep it. But they say killing off support for these different architectures that aren't really used anymore is beneficial for lots of reasons. Number one, it'll reduce the attack surface of the kernel, and it also just reduces the damn size of the kernel, which is particularly nice. And although many of us have fond memories of working on these old systems, it is time to move on. And out with the old, in with the new. Got to get all those new ARM processor and phone supports in there after all.
Yeah, it looks like that'll be about a little under 2.5% reduction. So
no kidding.
It's not too
bad. Did you just do a little quick math over there?
Quick math.
I heard you quick math in it over there. You're on a roll today. Wes also spun up a server app pick we're going to be talking about later in the show. During the intro of the show, I think you spun that up. You maniac. All right, so Daniel Foray from Elementary OS is here, and his timing is great because I want to talk about the slow and steady march towards Juno. Now, Juno is the next release of Elementary OS, which will be based on 1804 LTS of Ubuntu, and lots of new things are coming. We've been kind of covering this as it gets here, and a new post went up. And you guys have a feature that I'll say is inspired by Unity that was one of the best new user Unity features. So why don't we start there, Dan?
Yeah, so a couple of the things we've been looking at with this release especially is kind of user feedback and figuring out what do people feel like is missing, or what are people saying that maybe Elementary OS can't do right now, and kind of showing them how they can do it. And so this is, I think, one of the great ways that Unity showed them how you can use keyboard shortcuts there. And so we said, hey, this is a great idea. Let's implement it.
So you mash down the super key, essentially, and if you hold it long enough, a pop-up comes up with an overview of the keyboard shortcuts that the end user might want to cycle through a window or switch workspaces or take a screenshot or even zoom an application in. And but then you guys went further than that. You can also remap what that super key goes to, yeah? Like you can change the mash behavior.
Yeah, so we set that up because we know that people have different expectations of what they want the super key to be. So we figured, the first try we're going to have it pop up the keyboard shortcuts to show them, this is what we set it up as default. But then you have a quick shortcut that'll put you right into shortcut settings, and you can have it show instead the applications menu, or you can just have it do nothing if it's getting in your way.
Looks like, while we're talking about system settings, the Bluetooth menu got reworked quite a bit. New device discovery seems a little different. And is this essentially moving away from like the GNOME tools and rolling your own Bluetooth stuff here with the management aspect?
Right. So one of the things that we have to kind of work with in a new release is changes that upstreams have made. And the GNOME Bluetooth wizard has actually been deprecated upstream for a really long time. And so we've kind of finally moved away from that and have more of our own tools.
Wow.
It looks nice and clean, as it always does. It almost goes without saying these days that it always looks nice and clean. Okay.
Thanks.
So the one thing that I wasn't clear on is you guys have GeoClue, a GeoClue API that developers that are creating applications for Elementary OS can use to ascertain the user's location, and that's controllable by the end user. So what's new with Juno? Because that's already existed, correct?
Right. So we had the GeoClue API in before, but there were some big problems. One was that we didn't have any documentation available for it on Voladoc. Another was that you had to ship a custom VAPI file with your app to actually use it. So that was kind of inconvenient, and you have to know how to do that. And then another big issue we had is there was no real incentive for developers or users to care about this API because they had no kind of control or interaction with it.
Well, and now it's like even more like what the part I didn't quite grok was like now it's like down to the nearest town, or like you can get more fine grained of how close it gets for the user.
What we do is that now when an app wants to get your location through GeoClue, we throw up a little alert dialog and we ask you permission, and then we let you know what kind of accuracy that the app is requesting. So you can know,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right. So if you have an app that should only be requesting country level, but it's requesting street level, you can say, hey, no, like, I don't want to do that.
That's slick. Well, so that's those are the things that jumped out at me. Is there any other things anything I missed or anything you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, we've been trying to look at some things that our users have been asking for, and one of the big ones is some more changes to code.
The editor.
There was recently a poll in the Vala Google Plus community that said that more people are using elementary code to write Vala apps than gedit and GNOME Builder combined.
Wow.
Huh.
Yeah, so we're really going hard on trying to make this a great code editor.
Yeah.
We've added a new fast style scheme switcher, so you can easily go into dark mode with Solarize Dark or light mode with Solarize Light, and that's just a one-button click back and forth.
I like that. Yeah, I see that. This is one of these. I don't have I ever. Wasn't this renamed? Like this is. I knew this by another name before, didn't I? Before it became code.
Yeah, so in Elementary OS Loki, we shipped it as Scratch. And
that's it.
This is a total rebranding.
Okay, well, dang, it looks great. And so now it's called Code, and that was formerly the artist formerly known as Scratch. Okay,
Right.
Dang, and those are just the things you're talking about at this point. Just the things.
Yeah.
There were some App Center updates as well, some changing over, like going from updates to installed, and a few other like tightening up of the UI there. It's good stuff, Dan. It's good stuff. So when do I get it? When do I get it? When do I get it, Dan? Dan, when do I get it? Dan, can I have it now, Dan? Dan, when do I get it? Can I try a beta, Dan? Dan, when do I get it? Dan, I want it now.
So we're trying really hard to get to the point where we can release a public beta. What we're doing right now is we're trying to track any regressions from the old version and make sure that we fix those up and things are ready for our developers to get their applications ready to ship in App Center, and for translators to go in. And so we have to hit a string freeze so the translators can go in and do all their stuff before release time.
Very good. Well, I'll wait patiently then, I suppose, because it just takes its time, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so Ubuntu though is going final beta though, right? So as far as upstreams are that's tracking nicely. So that'll save us and let us focus in on just kind of cleaning up and then getting ready to roll that beta out like real soon.
Ooh. All right.
I'm excited.
Well, thanks for coming by and giving us an update. I like that you guys are keeping us posted. It helps build the hype, and that's always appreciated. It's always fun to get excited about a new release.
Yeah, trying to. Definitely tune into our blog because we're posting stuff all the time about what we're working on.
Boom. We'll have a link to that in the show notes as well. How about just a quick shout out to the GNU Cache project, because I don't think we've ever mentioned them on the show, and they just reached a major milestone. Version 3.0 has been released, and it finally has been moved over to GTK3.
Nice.
Yeah. And, I think that's probably taken them quite a bit of work to get there. So I thought it was worth celebrating. Even though we've never really mentioned the show, it's one of those boring, just get work done tools. But it is kind of great.
Yeah, I mean, for double entry, simple double entry accounting stuff, works pretty nicely.
It looks like they've added support for some online service APIs too.
Oh, that's handy.
So it could be, and some improvements to the SQL database backend stuff. So GNU Cache 3.0 with GTK3 now baked in.
Check it out.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't think I've probably launched GNU Cache in years. All right, we do have a new Cubes OS. Anybody in the mumble room a Cubes OS user? Anybody? I thought we had somebody at one point.
Come back to us.
Everybody switched over to Elementary OS, I guess.
Oh, it's so flashy.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk about Cubes OS then. So, Cubes OS is, you know what? Actually, before we go to Cubes OS, let's take a moment and let's mention while we plugged user error. I'll also mention, check out this week's Late Night Linux that just came out. It's Ike's last episode, and they have Graham on from Linux Voice and talk about some of their future plans. So go check out that. It was a pretty great episode. And then also, I think we mentioned it once before, but one more plug skis. The Ubuntu podcast is back from their season break. They recently had a great interview.
Yeah, we are.
Fantastic.
Congratulations, guys. It's good to have you back. And so Ubuntu podcast is definitely worth checking out. And, I might as well, if we're doing this, I'll throw a plug in there for TechSnap, techsnap.systems. Wes is going to do a breakdown of a super cool open source tool called Terraform. And we'll be covering that in this week's episode that'll be coming out on Thursday.
Lots of fun.
Yeah, so there you go. I just wanted to mention a few of those things because there's a lot of really cool stuff going on out there right now. Speaking of cool stuff, how about DigitalOcean?
Oh, yeah.
You know I'm all about it. Go to do.co/unplugged and get a $100 credit. If you have a new account and you have a legitimate credit card on file, you can get a $100 credit at DigitalOcean. This is secure, reliable, predictable pricing, super easy, infrastructure at scale, and they now have flexible droplets. You can mix and match the resources that are most appropriate for your application. do.co/action. I've told you so much about DigitalOcean. Wouldn't it be good? Wouldn't it be good to hear from somebody else, Wes, for once?
Please.
DigitalOcean's cloud computing platform was designed with simplicity in mind, giving development teams the ability to easily manage infrastructure. That's why thousands of businesses around the world are building, deploying, and scaling their applications faster and more efficiently on DigitalOcean. Using our simple control panel or API, you and your team can seamlessly go from deploying to scaling highly available web, mobile, PaaS, DBaaS, or machine learning applications. In just a matter of seconds, quickly set up one to thousands of virtual machines, easily secure servers and enable performance monitoring, and effortlessly attach more storage. Plus, you'll always know exactly what you'll be paying every month with a predictable flat pricing structure across all global data center regions. By using DigitalOcean, you'll get the infrastructure experience that development teams love with the features your business needs. Sign up for DigitalOcean today and experience simplicity at scale.
Oh, do.co/unplugged. do.co/unplugged. I don't know, Wes. All of a sudden, I decided to make it a theme. I'd have other people do the ad read this week.
It's way easier. And there's less of a chance that you will mispronounce something.
Why didn't I?
So it's the best of both worlds, really.
Why didn't I think of it before? Fair enough. All right, so back to Cubes OS. That was a fun diversion. Sometimes you got to pet the dog.
Sure thing.
Sometimes
keep him happy.
Yeah. Cubes OS 4.0 is out after nearly 2 years in development, countless hours of testing. You and I did mention it recently. It's got a new admin API, a brand new core stack, fully virtualized VMs for enhanced security, multiple flexible, disposable VM templates that can be spun up immediately, a brand new RPC policy system, a powerful new VM volume manager that makes it easy to keep different VMs on external drives.
That's super cool.
Says, hey, get this drive, plug it in, let's go. New template system and a rewritten command line interface. That's like a lot of stuff. And I think the virtualization changes stuff has been huge in this version of Cubes OS. So big congratulations to Cubes OS for the brand new release. I don't really, I know that the Purism laptops are going to be shipping with Cubes OS. I don't personally have a use for it yet, but it is very cool. The idea is that you run everything in its own isolated VM. So you have a web browser VM, you have a chat VM, you have an IRC VM. Like you have all these VMs on your system, and there is some resource sharing they do, so it's not like it's massively
right.
But the idea is that then everything has its own independent stack. And then as long as your virtualizer is secure, then your applications are isolated and secure. It's like containers. Who needs that, right?
Yeah, we already have virtual machines.
And it's interesting to watch Cubes sort of respond in now a container world, because Cubes has been around for a long time, since before Docker was really a common idea. And so they've sort of had to watch the market move around them a little bit, and they've had to adapt to that. And I think this release reflects that.
Yeah, it's impressive that, despite I certainly don't use it very, very much either, though this is making me want to give it a spin one of these upcoming weeks.
You know,
But they have a lot of momentum going for themselves and making constant improvements.
Yep, exactly. And we're going to talk a little bit about Richard Stallman's post here in a bit. And I think maybe we could revisit that then.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that security kind of stuff. But yeah, maybe one of these days, Wes. Maybe one of these days. We're avoiding the whole challenges thing for a while. One of these days, we could do like a Cubes OS week or something.
Oh, that could be fun.
Especially if we could run on our laptops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we both put it on the laptop and we work out of that for a week.
See what it's like. Really get an appreciation for that workflow.
Would it be doable? I wonder if people might be listening that do this all the time and might just think it's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Okay, well, let's do a little app pick here. It's kind of a server-side app pick, and something that Wes got set up, like I said during the intro. I've been thinking a lot recently about Discord versus IRC. As some of you guys know, we did a poll in the show, and it was pretty much universally IRC that won. And I was trying to break down, like, well, what is this about? And a lot of people said, well, you know, IRC isn't a cloud service. IRC is, you know, it's the open source way. Like, there's all these different reasons that people had, and none of it totally clicked with me because, you know, the IRC system that most people use, like Freenode or like GeekShed in our case, is hosted by someone else on their computer. It's kind of technically a cloud service. It's just a cloud service that we didn't call cloud services back in the day. It's just a server you connected to. But if IRC were to launch today, that would be considered a cloud service. And so I didn't really buy the argument that moving away from Discord got us off the cloud or something like that. But you can't argue that one thing you can do with IRC that you can't do with Discord is you can truly brew your own IRC server, roll it yourself if you want.
Definitely.
And that kind of got me down this path of like, what other things do we commonly now use as hosted services that we could quickly and easily re-implement for ourselves if we didn't need something huge and large scale. Maybe you don't need a Freenode scale IRC system. Maybe you don't even need something as large as what Jupiter Broadcasting needs. 20, 30, 40 people in an IRC room, nothing massive. Do you really have to, how many hoops do you have to go through to just do this yourself?
Right. Maybe you just need a private server, you know, behind closed doors to orchestrate a couple things.
So how easy is it? Well, Wes found Oregano. Oregano is a modern experimental IRC server written in Go. Yeah, you've guessed it was either going to be Go or Rust, didn't you? It's designed to be simple to set up and use, and it includes features such as UTF-8 NICs, channel names, client accounts with SASL, and IRC v3 support. And you got it up and running on your laptop there.
Actually, it's running up on a DigitalOcean droplet.
Of course. I should have known. What is your initial impressions on the difficulty to set it up and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, it was quite easy. They've got releases available. There's also looks like it's in the AUR as well if you want to give it a go that way. But really, you just go to the release pages on their GitHub, download it, extract a tarball. They've got a couple commands you can run to set up the certs and set up a DB, and then away you go. I've posted an IP there in the IRC for our live listeners.
Cool.
You guys can go check in, start chatting. There's a hashtag JB channel right now.
I found a couple of things about it that I liked. It's got native support for TLS SSL. It's got YAML configuration files that are easy to read. Passwords are stored in bcrypt and are also salted, which I like all those things. And it, at least from your description, seems to be easy to set up. So if you wanted to, if you did want to take this under your own control and you didn't need something large scale, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to say what this can or can't scale up to, but I think a lot of times we get sort of carried away when we try to say we're going to replace Google or we're going to replace Discord, and we try to replace it with something at their scale. It's just not possible. But we don't all need that scale. And this is an example of an application that you just put on a VPS in a couple of minutes that if you wanted to, everyone at work in your office could be using this.
Yeah, no, I don't think that would work just fine.
Yeah, and then maybe you wouldn't need Slack. And if it doesn't take hours to get it set up and secured, if it can be as simple as, I mean, how many minutes did it take you? 5-10 minutes?
Less than that, yeah. 3 minutes? I don't know.
Because one of the appeals of Slack is when you just want to create a Slack group, you just go click a button, put a name in there, and start inviting people, and you're good to go. Well, this isn't that much longer, and it's something you control, and there was just that creepy story about Slack giving access to your direct messages to management, and, this doesn't have those problems, and anybody using any old IRC client can use it. That's pretty cool. And then if you want cloud support, you combine it with something like IRC Cloud.
Yeah, right. There you go. You have a layered solution.
Yeah. It's pretty neat, huh? Yeah, it's
simple, no nonsense. I don't know that it's as configurable as some of the, standard IRC servers, but you might not need that, right? Like, especially maybe you just are using it to transfer data or automate some bots and processes around the office.
This could be cool too. Like you just need to spin it up during an event, right? You use it
to
like coordinate during an event or something like that, and then when the event's over, you spin it down.
You just turn it right off.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's called Oregano, and we will have a link to it in the show notes. And it looks like they also have a couple of different test servers that are always running that you can check out as well. Levi's here to check it out. Levi says he approves of it, don't you, Levi? Yeah, Levi, the studio dog. He likes oregano. He probably does, actually.
He probably does.
He probably does.
Get out of there.
Do you have any use for your own IRC server? I don't really. I mean, what I want, because we can sometimes have hundreds of people in there, I just don't think I'd want to use something like this.
Right, and I mean, it kind of makes sense as part of the business to have not really our special sauce to host our own IRC server. So, but I don't know that I need one, but I could see it if maybe you've already written some IRC bots or you're just like a small office of tech savvy people and you just need somewhere to store your chat logs and make async communication and other things easier.
Maybe you're doing a podcast.
Maybe you're doing a podcast.
You got a podcast with a few dozen people watching live. I mean, like right now, there's probably not so many people in the chat room that we couldn't host all these people on it.
I'm sure. We could even give it a shot.
Yeah. Well, some of them may be right now. You have people logging in?
Yeah, looks like we got a couple people checking it out. Eric, TechMav,
Eric, you got in there?
I got in there. Yeah,
nice.
Sure did.
Good. Have fun. That's nice.
It's really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This is just running on the baseline DO droplet. So.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And now you're off to running your own infrastructure, Wes. You didn't even have to use Terraform.
And I did not.
One. Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. If you have any other kind of really nice self-hosted services that something that we haven't really talked a lot about before, because we've done the Nextcloud thing. We've done all that. But
I could also see this being helpful maybe if you're just trying to learn to write an IRC implementation or something. You want something to either see the source or just hack against locally, running it there, writing your client to attach to. That could be easy too.
Yeah. Let us know what else you've been self-hosting or would like to see us attempt. Go to linuxunplugged.com/contact and put it in there. Because I think it's not that we have to be all anti-hosted services, but I think that if we can opt to use something like this from time to time, it sort of forces the rest of the industry, the software ecosystem, to still support it. So I'm always a big fan of that. And we're going to get into Richard Stallman. This is kind of a good segue actually. He wrote a post over at The Guardian, and he calls it a radical proposal to keep your personal data safe. And he really does. I'll just kind of read it, and then we can talk about it, because he does a good job of sort of illustrating a couple of points that maybe could be practical, could possibly work. Maybe we'll discuss that, because I think that's sort of the question. But he writes, journalists have been asking me whether the revolution against the abuse of Facebook data could be a turning point for the campaign to recover privacy. He says that could happen if the public makes a campaign for a broader and deeper push. Broader meaning extending to all surveillance systems, not just Facebook. Deeper meaning to advance from regulating the use of data to regulating the accumulation of data. Because surveillance is so pervasive, restoring privacy is necessarily a big change and requires powerful measures. The surveillance imposed on us today far exceeds that of the Soviet Union. For freedom and democracy's sake, we need to eliminate most of it. There are so many ways to use data to hurt people that the only safe database is the one that was never collected. Thus, instead of the EU's approach to mainly regulating how personal data may be used with its General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, I propose a law to stop systems from collecting personal data. He means altogether. And the most robust way to do that, the way that can't be set aside at the whim of a government, is to require systems to be built so as not to collect data about a person. The basic principle is that a system must be designed not to collect certain data if its basic function can be carried out without that data. So we have to start designing systems in a way that they just simply don't collect data, because the temptation to have because the temptation to have data is so high.
It really is.
Now, is that practical, though? He talks about the Transport for London digital card payment system that records the trips, the cameras that record your entry to the system when you go down there. He says that we'd have to redesign security systems in a way in the public where they don't constantly record everything. that the recordings would be local recordings that could be checked in the next few weeks if a crime were to occur, but should not allow remote viewing without physical collection of the recording. Biometric systems should be designed so that they only recognize people on a court-ordered list of suspects to respect the privacy of the rest of us. An unjust state is more dangerous than terrorism, and too much security encourages an unjust state. So his argument there for the security cameras is local SD recordings, basically, and then the Popo go in and recover the recordings within a few weeks if there's an emergency. But maybe like every 90 days or whatever, the cameras wipe themselves or just start overwriting themselves. And same with like payment systems and whatnot. Is that practical? Let's take that one first. Like, could we? Because if you think about this, we have such a massive problem that we're facing now. Even Stallman in here feels a little defeatist. He comes across a bit defeatist.
He does, yeah, right?
Yeah, he talks about how people don't care enough and about how the only way it's going to change is people care, but people don't care.
So that was going to be my question to you in your prompt. What do you mean by practical? Because obviously, I think in many ways, technically, yes, right? But I think he is somewhat correct in identifying a lot of the reasons, both from the law enforcement side, right? More data means faster actions, maybe or arguably better public safety, perhaps not, but that's the case. And from the business side, more data is more features. And a lot of times those frills, right? A lot of times, even when we're talking about hosted versus self-hosting, those frills are that extra little stuff at the end that really makes the difference and that users really like, even if they're not central to the feature.
Yeah, he argues that additional services could be offered separately to users who actually request and want them. And even better, those users could use their own personal systems to track their own journeys if they wanted or something like that. Like, so the tracking stuff could be additive instead of built in.
The other hard part, I think, is that a lot of times these in the small, they make sense, right? You're like, oh yeah, I do want to see all my past trips on the tube or whatever. And it's only in the aggregate when it's this large, once it's become this large collection that it becomes creepy and, complete surveillance.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We have so many different things that are monitoring our activity now. We have data brokers, you have credit monitoring agencies, you have things like MoviePass that are trying to construct a night out at the movies where they track all of your location. And there's a lot of companies that are in this business now. I mean, Facebook and Google are maybe the most prevalent offenders that we talk about, but there's so much other stuff. And so what Stallman is essentially suggesting, and maybe this is the core thing I'd like to bounce around with you and the Mumble Room, is it possible to design these systems just in a way, like can we say they just by default don't collect information? Can we do that? Is that accomplishable? And why wouldn't that work? And I think about it too from like a system administration management standpoint. Think about that for a moment. Could we do that? Could you build a system in a way where it's not collecting metrics, it's not collecting information and usage? I don't know. So let's discuss that next. But first, linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there to sign up for a free 7-day trial, and you support this here darn show. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. I am so tempted to play the clip just to keep with our theme, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to change it up from what you expect, and I'm going to tell you just go over there yourself because it is great. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. That's where you go to sign up for a free 7-day trial and support the show. Try out their self-paced, in-depth video courses on every Linux, cloud, and DevOps topic. They have a course scheduler to work with you if you're busy, and they have Learning Paths, which are a series of courses and content that's been planned by their instructors for a specific career track. That's awesome. And then you combine that when you're ready to go get your certs. They have practice quizzes to help sort of get you ready, and they have courses that are created specifically to prepare you for those exams, and flashcards which are forked by the community to help you study. So it's a system to help you get through this. It's exactly the kind of support I could have used. And then the thing that really benefits for somebody like me is these hands-on labs. They spin these servers up. It doesn't matter what you're learning. You pick the distribution with your courseware. The courseware matches it. The virtual machine will spin them up. They even have some systems for AWS when you're learning that. And they have all kinds of great resources available to you, including study guides, lesson audio, personal notebooks that you can take with you offline, iOS and Android apps. Why not quiz yourself? And they have added offline support on the iOS and Android app for the quizzes. And you can cache the lessons.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's perfect for travel or just taking a break at the beach.
And if you really get stuck, they got real humans that can help you. Full-time human beings that can answer your questions. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. linuxacademy.com/unplugged. Go there to support the show, and a big thank you to Linux Academy for sponsoring the Unplugged program. So though I was thinking about this, I couldn't really build a network without some data. Like, if I don't even track the downloads, and I don't know what shows are a huge waste of our time versus what shows people really like. So, like, if you're building a server and you're not collecting metrics on where people are connecting from, then you can't properly build out how your site loads for people. You can't cache it correctly. Like, you have to do some level of tracking, and even at that level, metadata is useful.
Certainly.
You and I were talking about a couple of different examples of metadata that we have just from like friends and family that use different services, and it's like you can kind of figure out what they're doing just by looking at the metadata. And I definitely wish Stallman was right here, but it just doesn't seem possible. It just doesn't seem. It seems like we've gone too far down that route. You could technically do it, but there's not enough motivation to pull it off. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, I wish you were more wrong. I mean, I think in an alternate universe, it all seems possible. It seems like it could be within our reach, except it's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to like because it's one of those like we can but should we questions,
Right.
and that takes impulse control
Yeah.
and principles that you apply on a daily basis, especially in the face of like profit-driven motives or other things, and that's where I think it breaks down.
Do you think, okay, so I think maybe this could change if people started to really value what their personal information was worth. Like if a couple of things keep happening that made people understand the value of it. So Minimec suggests that perhaps it's an opt-in feature, but would people actually pay for that, Mini, or would they, if you don't offer to them for free, they're not going to bother? You know what I'm saying? Like I get the idea that like you and Stallman were positioning that something like that could be an extra feature you pay for, like the tracking that records all of your routes so you can graph them all for the year. But I don't think anybody would actually pay for it, do you?
No, I think if you want to have trust again in these services, to collect as less data as possible and tell your users you can have other features in this product, but then you will share this and this and this data. And all this stuff should be opt-in and not opt-out. It's like that I think you can gain the trust again. Otherwise, a lot of people are really scary now what they're doing.
I wonder if either Popey or Wimpy would like to comment on the GDPR stuff, because obviously it's at the fringes of my understanding, but he does mention in here the EU's GDPR regulations are well-meaning, but don't go very far. He says they won't deliver very much privacy because the rules are too relaxed. They permit collecting any data if it's somehow useful to the system, and it's easy to come up with any way to make a particular data useful for something, he says. The GDPR makes much of requiring users to give consent for the collection of their data, but it doesn't do much good. System designers have become experts at manufacturing consent. Does either one of you have a thought on GDPR and his take that it doesn't go far enough, it doesn't do enough, it doesn't really solve this problem?
I would love to offer some erudite insight into that, but I've accidentally started playing Bomb Jack using MAME.
Good for you.
Yes, respect.
Fine, that's fine. That means
that's a lot more fun, probably.
As it happens, I have been looking at GDPR a little bit recently, and the problem that I see with it, from my own point of view, with regards to the Ubuntu Mate project and the way that we collect our crowdfunding, is that creates a problem for us. But the issue is that the rules are too vague, and therefore pretty much everything falls under its rules in some fashion or other, and it's unclear if you're truly affected and whether you need to make a change, or are people just making changes because it's so vague.
Yeah, that has been my take on it too. I did a little bit of looking into it for Tech Talk today, and that I was really surprised at the language when I actually got my hands on it. It seemed like you could interpret that in a lot of different ways, and maybe that's what Stallman is trying to get at here. He says that we just have to stop surveillance before it even begins to prevent this, and I think that ship's already sailed, unfortunately. And that's why I think he's a little defeatist. Like, I think some part of him must know it's too late. It's,
Right. And like maybe there are opportunities to choose some services if more services and things spring up that do claim at least to have those principles. But there are so many like with cameras, like things that governments use. There's so many little areas that often are ignored by the public. It's hard to see there being a lot of scrutiny or impetus to make changes there.
He does give a plug, though, for their one-click cashment payment. GNU Taler, T-A-L-E-R? Taler?
Taylor?
I don't know. Probably not Taler. It's a electronic payment system under development that they hope to make operational this year. and they're pretty jazzed about it. So he gives it a plug in the Guardian article there.
I have not actually played with. I have heard of it before. It looks like they've got a snazzier site now, so that's the first step.
Yeah, that is. I don't know. I read this and I think, boy, good idea. The problem is that it just doesn't scale. Like his idea for local storage and cameras, that doesn't scale. It simply is. There's too many cameras now, and there's too few people to monitor them, and it's too late. This ship's already sailed.
I wonder if is there time? Can this abate some potential AI machine learning problems? We're only getting started in the creep factors possible in that technology. Can we forestall some developments?
Yeah, well, is there something you can individually do is what I was thinking about. Like, what if you just became an international man of mystery or woman intentionally? Like we talked about this before, but like you start using VPNs regularly. You start using GPG all the time. You maybe use different names for different sites. You use different containers in Firefox to create different identities.
Or live CDs only.
Yeah, like maybe you start behaving like somebody who is trying to cover their tracks a little bit, so that way it just becomes normal. And then the more of us who do it, it's just the norm. Like that's just what technology people do. Oh, those techies, they're always using all that security.
Right. We've seen things like some devices that try to VPN as a router at the edge or funnel you through Tor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you did those things, then that would mitigate tracking. And I saw this hat. I saw this hat that blocks face recognition. I wonder if we could find it. Hat that blocks face. Let's find it. It's a face recognition prevention hat. It's the most funniest thing because it's that's actually kind of a funny thing when you search for that. You get a lot of funny different results. But somebody is working on a hat that has a built-in LED light array in the brim, which blocks facial recognition cameras, and you can wear that when you go out if you were super paranoid. See, that's the thing. Right there, I just did it. We have to stop talking like it's a super paranoid thing to do. Like it just has to become okay and normal to want to have a hat that blocks facial recognition.
Right, that your personal privacy is a reasonable thing to protect without having to explain why or feel like you're suspicious or paranoid.
And nobody listening is going to do it. Nobody. I wonder what that tells us. Maybe this is something we're just okay with.
Maybe if we collect a whole bunch of information, we can find out what that tells us.
Yeah, I think it tells us the scale of economies with technology and the momentum there is so strong that this is happening. That we're now capable of having machines that are capable of analyzing images. We can have them monitor multiple video feeds at the same time, and that capability is just beginning. It's just going to get more advanced. It's here. And we've all known it. Anybody that's been in technology for years has known this is coming. We've all known this is coming.
Yes.
It's so obvious because the machines are getting better and better with machine vision and all of that. So I guess the next conversation we need to be having and should already be having is, what do we change about society and society's understanding of technology to make sure that this is properly stewarded so that people can be good shepherds of this stuff? Is that possible, or is that pie in the sky?
It is pie in the sky. It seems possible. It seems like that can be a track that we could head down, but
because nobody in here, I don't believe anybody in the mumble room, I don't believe probably anyone listening is going to start wearing a hat to block facial recognition, is going to start using VPNs all the time, is going to use GPG. Maybe those things are maybes, but it's going to be such a minority of the audience that does it. It could literally be down to you could fit them on, you could count them with one hand. How many people in our audience?
Let alone popular culture. And how do you get that movement to start? Sure, there's lots of people concerned about Facebook,
it's not going to happen.
We just don't have that level of skill or interest.
And there's just so many new devices coming online all the time that track your activity, that generate metadata, that even just, I covered an article that was looking at they put a packet with consent. They put a packet capture at the router and just looked at the data generated by smart appliances like smart plugs and the Alexa and that stuff. and they were able to get a pretty good idea of what was going on in the household.
Right?
So that's all. It's happened already.
Yep.
It's happened.
And
so,
people still want those features, right? Like, just think about how many people, even in our audience, are still hooked on Google services because it turns out when they read all of your email with machines, it's nice, right? Or like they when they know all of the calendar appointments you have, they can do clever things, and you like those things.
Yeah, I'm taking the kids on spring break a road trip over the weekend, and in my Google Now cards is a card for here's the things to do in that town, and I'm like, wow. It read my email, figured out that I booked a campsite, and then generated a card of the highlights of what to do in that town without me ever prompting for a single thing. I don't know if, good or bad. It's just interesting that it can do that. So we're there. So that's why I think we have to talk about the good stewardship stuff a little bit. And maybe really we can't possibly come up with a solution here, but maybe we can come up with a way to start the conversation. I don't know.
Right. Sets of principles, and then maybe eventual regulation or other steps so that these can be ingrained, right? Like how do we set up at least guardrails so that maybe some of these can still exist if you want them, but that we can be assured that some sort of privacy-centered policies are being followed on the back end.
Pie in the sky stuff on this week's episode, Wes.
I'm depressed now.
It's being driven by corporations, right? So it's going to be difficult. But I guess we are their customers.
And I think there have been cases in the past, right, where like consumer sentiment changed, and companies were forced to reflect on that. But it's a slow process, and I think also somewhat unpredictable.
Yeah, I'll give if anybody in the Mumble Room wants to give a final word on the idea of kind of what we do now that we're at this point with the Googles and the Facebooks and the Cambridge Analyticas and all of the other monitors out there. What is the next step that we can practically take? Does anybody have thoughts on that?
You mentioned GPG.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely a way to encrypt email and make it possible. And I just recently found a way to do it with Apple Mail. Is anybody going to seek that out? No.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And so that's just kind of the world we're living in, is that nobody even knows they can do it, let alone will do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is Stallman's not going to be around forever. And there's really almost nobody that gets media recognition that's banging that drum like that.
Eben Muglin.
Yeah.
Is the name.
Well, and Edward, I could name a couple others. Edward Snowden has been also, making some public statements about Cubes OS, for example, has been promoted by Edward Snowden. So there's others, but, it's a handful of people, don't you think, Dar?
I think it's a handful of people, but you don't really want many people to do this. See, Stallman is an issue sometimes because of his other political views. Eben Moglen seems to be the most balanced person so far in terms of being to the positions of Stallman, because Stallman is usually a little bit of the extreme to kind of make that contrast to the middle ground that most people actually live in. Eben Moglen is kind of more towards spending that side, but actually still reaches the people of the middle ground. Edward Snowden, he's always going to have that reputation of the past of what he has done.
Yeah.
And then you have to think, he still uses, the proprietary product still. He says Apple is good and things like that. So that's not really the message for a foundation like that.
So Stallman's solution for privacy, is build the systems not to collect the data to begin with. But my counter to that was we're so far past that. So what do you do now, Dar? So what do you do now at this point? Now that it's already there. Everybody's already monitoring. There's thousands of cameras in cities, in any modern city now. So now what?
So I think that the point we got ourselves in is the one that things like Freedom Box matter more. It's a project that intends to be this device that you sit in front of your router, so all of your traffic goes through it, kind of does its fix before it gets to the real network, and it happens. You make phones that follow the same principles. It's not connected to your modem at all times. And you keep doing this and actually making people care. And eventually, when it comes to the CCTV cameras and everything, which is the part we can do the least, it becomes less of a thing, because usually CCTV cameras are way worse because they have so much other data on you already, right? So they can then say, oh, yes, we're spotting these also other behavior. But if there's just a footage of you going somewhere, there's no other notions of your blog post. It's kind of irrelevant most of the time. It's public information like anyone would have seen you.
It does seem like, though, as long as we're connecting out to services that track us, there's only so much we can do.
Yes, right.
If you're connecting to Facebook still, or Twitter, or Slack, or Google, you think not?
Let's imagine the Freedom Box scenario, right? Let's imagine the Freedom Box scenario. You post on Facebook, but Freedom Box already sees that you're posting on Facebook, so encrypts the message. You see it as if it was decrypted. Your friends see it as if it was decrypted. Yes, it is stored on Facebook, but ultimately it's encrypted text that actually is there in the database.
I didn't realize that was a capability of the
that
Freedom
would be
Box.
great.
That would be that if that was possible. Like, so the Freedom Box is essentially doing encryption of the Facebook post and decryption on the other end automatically in this scenario, in this hypothetical scenario.
This is the type of idea that Freedom Box aims to achieve. It's not at that stage. It's hard work. It requires a lot of people, and not that many people are working on that project, which makes it funny enough because, you know, of its importance. But ultimately, it does some of the primary fundamental things, like your email actually intends to do this for all email providers, actually intercepting there. And that's kind of what's intended. And if we get to build tools like this, then nobody needs to worry. Like, it automatically verifies your traffic and things like that.
Now, I just hope that we can build these things and get them established while enough people still care. Not to make this about the damn
probably
kids,
a pretty short little window that we have, right?
That is what my concern is. Like that Freedom Box it does look like a great project. I'll have a link in the show notes, but freedombox.org if you want to check it out.
It seems like part of the problem is just too that, like, oftentimes, you know, maybe with enough consumer interest we could have some easy to use privacy focused things, but even making the claim of privacy, right? It's not a feature that you use in a normal sense, and it takes a certain amount of understanding of the technical systems underpinning it to be able to appreciate, like, is this privacy real or is it just hype and marketing?
Yeah.
So that makes it hard for consumers to self-select as well.
So, Mumble Room, remind me, who just bought Tunnel Bear? Was it McAfee that just bought Tunnel Bear? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's an example.
Who owns McAfee?
Yeah, right. Oh, actually, I thought they spun them off. But either way, it doesn't matter. My point is that it shows you that even when there's this is not to make this like a socialism thing, but it seems like to me, like if there is a business directive to earn money at a service like a VPN service, that is a really, really precarious position to be in, and your company's got to be structured right to do that. And the problem is that, you know, another company can come in and buy them, and they can have a completely different set of standards. So that's why it would be nice to be something that the open source community addresses, or at least even if it's a commercial company, the solution they're implementing is using open source software.
Using open source, having more nonprofits involved, similar things.
Yeah.
These, in my perspective, this is the reason you don't pick software for its technical capabilities, but rather for the principles of the project. That's how you know that they're not going to sell out to somebody that would then allow those things to happen. That's the whole principle. You make contracts like the GPL does to, when you actually sign up to FSF, the FSF goes and makes an effort to make a contract to you that they will never go and do other things. So you have legal ground to sue them if they do so. Ultimately, that it's that kind of trust that is required more than the technical capabilities. And we tend to very often go to the technical capabilities as a choice. We say that it's great that it's open source, but that doesn't allow the reversibility of the open source project.
Yeah.
While having that type of criteria does allow for that.
That is a well put point. In fact, I think that's a good note there to wrap that segment on, because perhaps long term, that is the best way to go about making your choice.
I think so.
All right, Mr. West, the Linux Unplugged program is live every single Tuesday, and it would love to have you join that virtual live.
Do it.
Apparently, we talk about ourselves now in the third person.
That just happens. Come join us. Tell us to stop. Tell us to keep it up.
We
need you here.
It only stops if you make us. Go to jblive.tv on a Tuesday. Get it converted to your time at jupiterbroadcasting.com/calendar. And again, notes for everything at linuxunplugged.com/243. Oh, thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you right back here next Tuesday.
I've never installed GNU/Linux.
All right. We name this thing, and then we get out of here.
Amazing.
Good job, everybody. I know it was kind of an awkward, somber episode with that shooting going down.
Yeah, that's true.
That's weird. That's weird. Has anybody seen any update? Is the YouTube
Fill us in. We were busy.
Yeah, we were. That's some pretty serious stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
I saw something about a woman with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, so that's all I've heard.
Okay. Yeah. I'll keep an eye out. Anyways, let's pick our title. Yeah, it's just heartbreaking when that kind of stuff happens, really. So hopefully everybody at YouTube is okay, including some people that we know that work there. So yeah, our thoughts are with them. All right, jbtitles.com, jbtitles.com. Yeah, Dar, I think that was a good point. I'm glad we were able to end it on that.
Yeah, definitely.
And Dan, thank you very much for making it. That made
beautiful.
Made that segment much better, as always. So I appreciate you. Thank you, too, to everybody else for making it. Good to have all you guys here.
You guys are the tops.
The Stallman Directive, not too bad.
No, not bad at all.
Plundered privacy booty. The code of code is code. 404 Stallman not found. Clouds of participation or precipitate. Yeah, you have to look at it yourselves. That's difficult. My brain isn't working too good today.
Yeah, it is.
It's busted, Wes. I've used all my brain. I have to take the rest of the week off.
I think you should.
I used all my brain.
Everyone
buffer.
hang tight.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
Yeah. All done.
Just put reruns on, see if anyone notices.
Yeah, we'll just go back and we'll play episode 43 in place of episode 243 and see if anybody even notices. You could all. Well, you know what? Let's go see what we were talking about 200 episodes ago. I wonder if we can find that. You think we can? All right, you guys go boat while I go see what we
decide for us. We can't title this.
No. My brain is way.
Hey, there's loads of noise in the mumble room. I can't hear a word.
Who is that?
Sorry.
Who is that? Linux Unplugged. Let's see.
I don't have that noise.
What noise? I don't hear any noise.
No, neither do I.
Good.
Maybe
It's just
maybe.
me.
Let's see. Episode. Interesting. 31 is when we changed over to the new logo. Okay, so I guess I can't call it new anymore. Let's see.
Yeah, the standard logo.
43. Mint 7, fresh or stagnant. Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the verdict?
Well, I have a feeling I would say stale, but
Hey, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Have you got a tremendous amount of spare time today?
Not particularly, but I got to edit this here. But
No, that's fine.
Well, that's mysterious though.
Yeah, that's so mysterious.
That's super mysterious though. You're leaving me hanging.
You're just letting that dangle.
Well, I'll let you choose whether to do this or not. But if you do snap install SDL pop, SDL, the simple direct media layer,
Yeah.
SDL POP, and then run SDL pop.
Let's give this a
It's
go.
not my fault if you lose the rest of your day.
Noted. Yeah, that's
All right.
fair. Yes, that is a good disclaimer.
We're gonna give it a go. All right, the Stallman Directive is winning right now. By the way, so if you have a title opinion, all right. So now I'm gonna run SDL pop. Does this need sound or anything or?
Sound
Do you
is
have
better
the
with sound.
recording
Yes.
somewhere else?
This is
In
amazing.
case?
This is amazing. This is amazing. Okay, so to quick save and load, press. Oh, I didn't. Oh no.
What?
Oh, Prince of Persia.
Amazing.
Is this?
It's an SDL re-implementation of the DOS disassembly that was done a little while ago.
What?
This is great. This is so great.
Looks good.
Oh man, I didn't read the.
Keep the kids busy over spring break.
Yeah, what? I didn't read the keys though, so I have no idea how to move. All I know is I have 60 minutes.
Arrow keys, Control, and Alt are the only keys you need.
Arrow keys, Control, and Alt. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's all I want to. Oh, that's gonna be fun. So I'm gonna have to snap install SDL pop on all the things now. Boy, coin top and
These are
the
two
SDL
snap
pop.
winners today.
Yeah, the good times just keep on snapping. I love it.
Hey, Chris, it's Ironic.
Hello, Ironic.
Sorry I was late. I wanted to talk to you about linuxserver.io. I don't know if now is better or next week or whatever.
Well, if you want it in the show, we should do it next week.
Yes,
Because we
please.
just
I'm
we
late.
we just
I
stopped
admit
recording.
I am
a minute
late.
ago. No, it's so fine. It's fine. You know what? It's an open show format, so it's easy to pop in next week. So no worries. I would get here
Let's do
like.
that.
Let's see. So it's 3:20 my time now. I would, usually if you and I chatted before the show starts, so the show starts at 2 my time. So if we chatted like 5-10 minutes before that, because I'm usually in the mumble room by then I I'll slot it into a spot in the show. Totes. That'd be good.
That sounds ideal. And I'll get it right for GMT next week.
Yeah. Don't worry. The time math is a pain in the butt.
I was an hour late, so hey, it's my fault.
No, it happens. It does happen.
Yes, daylight saving times changed in Europe now.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. You know what's sexier? Arizona doesn't change, and when you work with people from Arizona, you cry every single time.
Yeah.
Everybody
That's
else
the
changed.
one thing I miss about
Except
living
that
there.
one client.
Yeah, I have
Why do
family.
we still do daylight savings again? Remind me.
I everybody asks this, and I seriously can't get a good answer on
I'm
this
to
one.
help you. I help you. This is the evil answer, okay? Use Google Calendar and set it so that it never changes your time zone, but it changes for the other persons. Well, in this case, you can set a time zone to be always matching, so if an event of a time zone of the event, so it changes for you.
Yeah, and of course, for us, we have the calendar page, which is supposed to auto shift it for people's time.
Oh
but-
yeah, should.
Yeah, I just don't like it at all because
It does, by the way.
when I'm trying to set up interview times with like guests and stuff like that, it's always like these like paragraphs of disclaimers on time, like, well, your time zone is this and my time zone is this, so it's going to be this time my time and this time your time. Make sure we're talking about the same thing. Like even with Mike, like we always have to say, all right, so that'll be noon my time, 3 your time. Like we always have to do the confirmation thing, even though we've done 303 weeks of the show. Like we still
Two companies I deal with just use UTC time, then everybody offsets to whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice way to do it. Probably have a slick little web app you could use.
We should have Jupiter Broadcasting Master Time.
Well, if you really want to just set up things based on your availability, Calendly works well. This is like basically you put the empty slots you have, and the other person selects the empty slot. They look at their own time, but because it's a UI that you're interacting with, that you click on it, it's kind of
nice. That's pretty
It's
sweet.
pretty good. We've tried that.
Oh, yeah?
We send emails to developers and say to them, "Hey, just find a time in my calendar. Here's a link," and they click the link and they put it in your calendar. But they don't get to see your calendar; they get to see the Calendarly view of your calendar.
So what is it's Calendarly? Is that
Calendarly? Yeah, something.
Yeah, okay.
But the problem with the free version lets you have a limited number of event types. So if I want to have like a half-hour chat with a developer, that's one type of event, and I can give them a link and they can use that. But if I want to have different types of events, you have to pay up. So yeah, it's a paid service, but I'm sure it's pretty good. I haven't used it an awful lot, but we tried it.
Yeah, I've seen others like that too, and I think Microsoft or somebody offers like something as part of their it seems like, speaking of that, it should be built into frickin' Google Apps.
Yeah.
Why is that not part of like when you're a business customer, you get that? Because they could just build it into Google Calendar.
Some space for other companies to do something.
Ooh, yeah.
Soon enough, they'll come around and take my business too, man.
That's you know what, that is a good point. It's like how many markets are they going to eat up over the years? They're just basically keep on rolling.
Whichever ones Amazon hasn't already gotten to.
Yeah, the answer to that is whatever they can, right? Whatever they can. Hey, so OBS or GNOME didn't crash. So if you voted in the chat room, if you took GNOME not crashing, you won this one. Ding 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 ding. Congratulations. I don't think anybody. I think it could be a drinking game. Take a drink every time GNOME takes a dump. Although
wouldn't take it.
my Plasma desktop, I'm gonna have to reboot again to get this thing working. I'm having plasma problems. Already. That's a good title, Plasma Problems.
That is a good title.
I'm sure they'd love that.
Hey Chris, have you seen the Linux Game Jam thing that Gartner's been promoting recently?
No, I haven't. What is it?
So it's a contest kind of thing, like a game development jam to promote people making games on Linux, and it's on itch.io. If you look under jams, it starts on this Friday, so runs for a couple of weeks, I think, and you get some time. You have to develop during the 2 weeks of the game jam, but you can submit anything you like. There's some criteria theme that goes along, which you can find out on itch.io.
You gonna submit anything?
If I get time, but Cassidy from Elementary is one of the judges, and your friend of mine, Brian Lunduk, is a judge, and I think there's some other people as well. Gartner might be a judge as well, but it's good. It's a good way of promoting more games on Linux.
So it's like it's sort of like a contest hackathon kind of thing. Like so, the idea is to get
kind of
games.
Yeah,
That's nice.
a couple of weeks, create your own game. You can work as a team or as an individual, just as long as you create everything within that couple of weeks. It's just a bit of fun, really.
Yeah.
And they judge, and I don't know if there's prizes or anything, but yeah.
I like that idea. That seems like a good idea.
Yeah, neat.
Don't yawn. Jeez, oh my
Ooh,
gosh.
unprofessional.
Bad, Chris, bad. Yeah.
Am I boring you?
No, I just didn't get enough sleep. I actually kind of like the idea right now of some good positive Linux gaming news too, because with
that would be nice.
with them pulling off the Steam machines, it kind of feels like
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess it was kind of obvious those Steam machines weren't going anywhere. Dell was just so dancing around it. I like the idea.
Machines are not going anywhere. It's not just Steam machines. It's machines in general are not going anywhere. Have you heard Apple moving away?
Yeah, I don't know. You think that's true? You think they? I mean, I'm sure eventually, but
Makes sense. Like it's what they've been doing everywhere else. Like
Yeah.
Whenever they got good into a place, they move away.
Everyone's speculated about this for years. That
Yeah,
they would
true.
eventually harmonize.
yeah,
But now they
yeah.
have actually managed to have good CPUs on the phone that are, tangible.
That's what I was saying to
Feels more
coders, like, too. They could put like 16 of 810s in a Mac Pro if they want. Like, if they need to get it to benchmark what a Xeon iMac Pro does now, they can just put 25 ARM cores in there if they have to.
Right, and they've got in-house people, just working on their cores.
And they're designing the silicon, they're designing the OS, they're designing the operating system scheduler.
Some of the apps.
But it doesn't match like the latest bleeding edge iMacs. Those things are
Monsters.
Sure. Yeah. And you can't replace that. I mean, you'd need a cluster of.
They
ARM
probably
machines
just do
to
it like
replace
they did the Intel transition. Like the first machine they launched was the iMac on Intel, and everything else was still PowerPC for like a year. And then they slowly moved
So
over.
this is the other thing. Apple does projects, and when you start hearing about them, it's already ready. So
yeah, it's probably true.
Yeah, right.
True.
But that's the other part. Like, when now it's coming actually somewhat from them.
Yeah, it looks
Because
like it was
actually
two different. It was CNBC and Bloomberg who both said they talked to somebody familiar with the matter on it. So that's definitely.
So
possible.
what does this mean for, like, how?
What does it mean for
Windows-
Darwin?
What was it called? What was the ARM version of Windows called?
Oh, the Windows RT?
Oh, Boot Camp.
That's it. RT.
Oh,
Windows
oh,
RT.
oh.
And how that bombed abysmally. Surely people are going to be like, as soon as Apple do this, everyone else is going to be following, and every other vendor, Lenovo,
It's going to be awesome.
HP,
Funny.
they're all going to create HP ARM laptops. And what OS are they going to run on?
This is the amazing thing when it comes down to Windows. You don't have to worry because Windows is inserting so much Linux underneath the Linux subsystems that eventually they can just run Linux as well underneath to take care of it. Just think of it.
The Windows
I've been
window
telling this
environment.
For too long, we'll have a Windows desktop environment. I've been telling you this. I did the prediction here in this
Yeah,
show.
you did. You did. Yeah, you did.
They'll add a Linux subsystem for Windows in their own proprietary version of the kernel, and then
really
run Linux on top of that.
Huh. I think if Apple did this, that's because they want to start selling convergent iPads and whatnot.
Yeah, I
that's
can
why
see
they.
that.
That's why they would do this, right? They want iPads that you can. Don't you think? And I think it's also to take advantage of developers. I think it's also
more for the AR stuff. Actually.
Oh man, maybe. And there's so many more developers on iOS.
Yeah.
They have no traction on the Mac, and they have so much traction on iOS.
Swift came out a pretty good language, something that C# never really was. I mean, it has good technology there, but
but we'll see. This is gonna be really interesting.
it's too corporate.
It seems like it'll happen eventually. I don't know what it's gonna mean for like Linux on that hardware too. That'll be interesting. All new territory.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just as things get normal in Kumskis, they got to go and change it all up on us. Oh, I'm surprised we haven't seen that Noah character yet.
Most people still use phones as majority of their devices.
That's just it. Is they have way more potential iOS customers than they do Mac customers, so they can actually afford to fuck around with the Mac quite a bit because at the end of the day, it's iOS where they're making all their money and where all their future potential growth is too. Really, Whew. Yeah. I think some power users are not going to like that move. There's going to be some users that need x86.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, look at the whole legacy, like all the Adobe applications and all of that.
I feel sad sometimes for Adobe. I mean,
they will have those people on stage at the announcement.
Yeah, right.
They will already be aware. They'll already be building all their flagship applications for ARM and optimizing them for whatever weird ass A11 or A
built to run on metal
chip is in there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Gosh.
I guess it is pretty easy to see it all happening, isn't it? It's totally gonna happen.
So yeah, it'll be like if you fit into like that main Mac target, then yeah, okay, you'll probably be just fine. Maybe it's a little worse. If you're some weird open source person who wants to run certain things, yeah, it might be difficult.
You weirdo open source person.
Privacy
came to the point
freak.
Fair enough, I don't use many fancy apps, but I came to the point that I could, but if I wanted, actually do all of my work in Dex, which is kind of depressing. I got to the point that I can do it. It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like you look at the Raspberry Pi too, like, and the fact that made on the Raspberry Pi has been so popular. Like the ARM revolution is nigh.
Yeah,
don't you think? Like
It's
Intel's
creeping
winter
up
is
in there.
coming, and
Well, Intel is already they licensed ARM recently to be able to produce ARM chips. So
yeah, but
I mean,
didn't they do that? I thought they did that like 2 years ago, and nothing's come of it.
well, it doesn't need to come out of it per se. Like Exynos chip from Samsung, they also license ARM cores, and internally inside of Exynos you have some ARM cores. So it could well be that you have inside of Intel CPUs some ARM cores, and they just don't make great advertisement of that part.
I bet that's probably true. Ah, man. Oh, police audio of the shooting.
Down in the center court area with the gunshot wound to the chest.
Was I saying it's always worth listening to the police audio if you really care?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing. Live has detected your computer is not a small apartment in Berlin where you have moved to further your music career and will shut down now. Oh, April Fools. Hey, everybody managed to get through April Fools fairly unscathed?
Yeah.
This year was pretty tame, I think.
I mostly avoided
my
the
boss
internet.
was
Worked out great.
threatening something, but it never happened.
Yeah.
I almost got tricked.
You did? You did?
MKey BHD video on Samsung like Bixby speaker or something was kind of like.
Oh, I could see
I was
that.
not expecting. I woke up in the morning and I was like, okay, so Samsung did something fucked up. Okay, let's see. What was it? And of course, then it's obvious, but at the beginning, I was like, wait, what?
For a hot second, the Free Software Foundation's I can't remember what they said, but basically that they were going to crowdfund to buy Facebook. That made me smile. That made me chuckle. I guess yeah.
No. Sorry, it's just that I forgot to tell you that there's a guy actually in France, a mayor, that said that a company would open there, IKEA would open there and generate 4,000 jobs. That was a lie in April's Fool.
Ouch!
On Twitter.
Yikes! That's
People got mad.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah,
It's
that's-
like, hey, we're gonna have 4,000 new jobs.
Well, I mean, nowadays it's a little bit disconcerting if people are willing to take a joke nowadays in this era of offensiveness and being easily offended and trigger warnings and all this sort of stuff.
Oh,
Would
he's a
April Fool
mayor.
be a
Could
viable
not
holiday
be
to still
doing this
have?
kind of stuff.
Yeah, that one's a little
All
crossing the line.
excuses, if I say it, it's fine. If you say it, it's fine.
If
He's
the
a
mayor.
It's
Man.
like you unemployed suckers. It's like,
Yeah, that's a little rough. That is a little rough.
yeah, and he then apologized, removed the thing, wanted to remove the thing, and then said that there's another development that is ongoing that will make about 4,000 jobs, but it's yet to come.
Ooh. Let's see. I saw Manjaro switched their homepage theme over to the same theme that Barbecue Linux uses. That was amusing. Let's see, any other April Fool's jokes that jump out at us?
My favourite was somewhat location specific, and it was the UK arm of the European Parliament mentioning that starting next year, all European passports would be blue. It's a very if you like, the Americans probably haven't heard of this. You've heard of Brexit, right?
Yeah, of course.
And the British passport before we joined Europe was blue, was like royal blue, and when we joined Europe, it became the standard
Bordeaux.
What color is that? Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
Bordeaux, right? And
It's not standard, not legal requirement.
Loads of
letting you know
yes, I know, but loads of stupid British people who voted for us to come out of Europe were the same kind of people who said we should, reclaim all our British properties, including the passport. It should be blue again. And so on April Fool's Day, the UK arm of the European Parliament tweeted that all European passports were going to switch to blue as well, which I thought was a brilliant troll against all these people in Britain.
That is
think
great.
It matters whatever the colour
Right.
of the passport is.
Yeah, like it makes a difference.
Did you
Which
see
is funny. We don't even need the passport to travel around the EU.
Did you see the insignia that was on that blue passport?
No.
It read, "Your mother was a hamster and your father smelled of elderberries."
Wow. Oh, that's great.
No, but the greatest joke about this story is that these blue passports should be printed in France, I think. Right?
Yes, that's right. It's just a joke.
Interesting. So Twitter has like one of their moments on the YouTube shooting, and they have everybody who's talking about it, and they have like video from the location and stuff.
I guess Google Maps now shows active shooters.
3. Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. 3 people with injuries so far. 2 women. 1 age 32 with serious injuries. Another 27. 1 man in critical condition, age 36. That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
That's, it's gonna be one to follow, I think, because that's different. Well, thank you guys. Sorry, I shouldn't bring it down like that. It's just, I don't know. That's today, I guess. Sometimes that's the news.
Sometimes you live in the moment.
It's not the fucking news.
Yeah.
It's really getting to be.
We need some filters.
It's getting to be the point where you got to take
We're
news
not
breaks.
watching the news for Syria.
What about it?
What about it? It's basically, the everyday.
Oh yeah. I know. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
We convert Facebook into, instead of like making us hate each other, some sort of weird happy news bubble
Just
where we
only
can just
pictures
go,
of cats and dogs.
Cute pictures of cats and dogs and
Yeah.
happy Linux news.
Yeah.
What that actually says is that we're terrible at communicating with each other, that we conform to cats and babies.
Yeah. I think that is true. I think there is some. I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people take on a pet because it's just a lot easier than having a human relationship. I've known some older folks that I swear that you'd think that's what they're doing. They were the biggest dog or cat fan, but not big fans of people.
Yes. Well, they are better than people.
Yeah,
so.
maybe they're onto something. Maybe they know it. Maybe they figured it out. Where's that Noah guy? He usually pops in here. That Noah guy?
He's getting ready for his fantastic show.
The Ask Noah program.
Yeah, he's doing a live
He's in the Ford.
in a hangout. He's like doing a hangout right now, as far as I'm aware.
Oh, maybe that's why he's not here
Like
then.
not an app hangout, but like an actual IRL hangout.
Oh, you mean not a Google one?
Yeah, IRL is a competitor in that space.
Jeez. So what do you guys think of Cloudflare launching DNS?
I mean, discuss it. I find it funny how they still got 1.1.1.1.
Damn, yeah. Talk about some real estate, huh?
That was expensive.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
How expensive do you think it was?
Well, they talked about this in the blog post. They talked about the fact that they provided some infrastructure to the people who owned 1.1.1.1 in order to do some analysis of all the traffic that's currently pointed to that IP address. So I imagine they've sunk that cost in existing hardware they have.
One thing leads to another. Huh. So I guess, so what you're saying is that they were just seeing, like, they wanted to know, like, just what kind of random ass traffic was going to 1.1.1?
Yeah.
Yeah, because lots of people use that as, like, it's like in the old days before the year 2000, people would put a date in of, like, 99999, right? And then everything broke in the year 1999 because people did stupid shit like that. The same thing happens with DNS. When you start putting random IP addresses that you think don't exist, they actually do resolve somewhere, and they want to see what that traffic looks like.
Yeah. So they've been like trying to study it, but every time they advertised those routes, they were overloaded. Cloudflare was like, Psh,
Right.
bro, we got you. We can do that.
Maybe,
fix that.
I'm a big fan of local DNS servers myself, even if it's just caching, that like DNS mask, right? That seems like that's way better than any hosted DNS service. It's always going to be faster. It's your land speed, right? So why?
Well,
But you do need some server, right?
Well,
You
yeah,
have to-
for it to do other lookups too.
Yeah.
But then once it's got the record, in theory, if it holds on to it, wouldn't that just be?
Actually, since we're talking about DNS, just probably most users are aware, but for those that are not aware, just letting this thing out. Do not forget, if you see sometimes if you go to a torrent website or whatever tracker and you're trying to get in and it says that the certificate is wrong, 9 out of 10 times government has taken over. So you change your DNS and connect again. And the certificate should not be bonkers.
Yeah.
We're giving that reminder.
That doesn't work in the UK. They've made it much more aggressive. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I know. It's pretty predictable.
Like
but
how so?
you
How
can-
so?
You can change your DNS and you still can't get to the Pirate Bay. You have to use a VPN to do it.
Those bastards.
Interestingly, there's a lot of places that have figured out that 1.1.1.1 is broken from lots of networks around the world.
Yeah.
Because
I bet.
it was actually marked by AppNic back in the day as you should not use it. It's withheld from general use, only routed briefly for passive testing. If you're getting unwanted traffic, it's almost certainly spoofed source or hijacked address, so they would recommend everyone blocked it. And now they're Cloudflare are having to go around finding all these people who blocked it based on the advice of the previous owner and try and get it unblocked again.
We want that IP. It's pretty. It's worth it.
It is easy to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is prime real estate. Like, that's the best address ever. So I guess it's worth it if you can. But I guess you did a little performance testing. You said you didn't really notice a huge difference between that and Google DNS?
Not for my endpoints. Yeah, about the same. Somewhere around 3 millisecond response time. So, hey, they're all doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But competition's not bad.
It's weird how having a recognizable IP address is like some cache. I used to work at Xerox and they owned 5 dot everything. And all the servers in our data center all have public IP addresses.
Sure, right? You got this giant range you bought years ago.
Yeah, and they weren't publicly routable, but they were public IP address. So internally, we all had 5 dot something something something, and we remembered them all because they all started with a 5.
Right?
But,
yeah.
Yeah. It's
That's
weird
awesome.
how.
I know some universities end up doing that as well for the same reason. They just have these giant IP spaces. That would be nice. I mean, I suppose we can all have that in the V6 world.
I'm checking in with the Brown Bear, seeing what's going on with him, see what he's doing, see if...
He says, didn't you get my message? You're doing Ask Noah today, Chris.
All right, I would do a totally different show.
I
just for
imagine
fun.
so,
I would do
yeah.
like the Ask Chris show, but I think I would do like...
what about the Levi Hour?
Yeah, I don't know. Like if I had to randomly throw together a show right now, I don't think I'd do a very good job. My brain's a little fried today. But, I think
This
I
could
would...
be a late April Fool's joke.
I would try to do like a totally different take on it. I don't know but I can't think of what that would be off the top of my head. I guess it'd have to be like kind of a slow paced sort of very methodical show where I just sort of really slow down and we'll take a long time talking
What if you
about
just like read local menus for food real slowly?
it. Yeah, why not, right? I mean, I got to build the ambiance. I got to
Yeah.
build the theater of the mind, so we got to, of course, build a little world
Yeah,
context.
so many people call in and like probably curse at you no matter what, if it's a radio station or not.
I don't know. Yeah, I'd probably be the first person to curse, though, let's be honest. I don't think they should put me on radio. I always have to be good when I'm on a show. I have to remind myself that I have to be careful what I say.
It's difficult.
Yeah, well, you get used to it after a while. Like, I can do it, so.
You just become a proper
Reasons why
person.
you need reasons why you
Saying
need
you're a good actor?
Yeah. Or just have to be mindful, at least. I tell you
Just
what.
convert to British. Add, I'm sorry. Sorry, Canadian.
I thought about it. I got family up
Right.
there.
Bedtime, good night.
All right, good night, Popey. Thank you for
Sleep
joining us. Goodbye. Well, I should get going too.
Noah's building the boat.
I was going to wait to see if Noah joins us, but I have a
Wasn't
suspicion.
Noah
he'll be
having
back.
a user meeting today?
I don't know.
He might be building the ark.
think he-
Yeah, for the year
he mentioned
episode.
Something in
Yeah.
the Telegram room.
Yeah.
That should have been Noah's April Fool's joke, saying that he's going to start a project. It's immensely needed. Going to start building an ark.
All right, so I'm sending him a message, a couple of notes that he'll need to know, so he'll have that. But I guess we should probably wrap it up here. because he may be doing that right up until the last minute. So I guess I don't know. I don't know if he's bringing the mobile room or not when he's on location. That's got to be kind of tricky, but we'll see. But anyways, guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'd say stick around and just catch the show. I know he's been working on a couple of things for this episode, so a couple of things are in store.
Excited.
All right, Mumble Room, we're gonna get out of here. But guys, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Talk
been
to
a
you later.
pleasure.
All right, Spizies. And thank you, chat room. I'm going to shut down the streams, but the streams will be back soon for the Ask Noah program. I'm probably going to shut down the OBS stream so that way I clear room for him. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, stay tuned for more of our Tuesday of Linux.
Looks like he's actually ready to go just about. So I'm going to just I'm just going to kill the stream for a brief moment, and then he'll be back up. So if you're watching live, you don't have to go very far because Ask Noah's at the controls, or Mr. Ask Noah.
Mr. Ask Noah.
Mr. and Mrs. Ask Noah are at the controls. See you guys. Thank you for being here. And next live show for me is Unfilter tomorrow.
Be there or be square.